Hello everyone, I'm Sina and this is Sina Draws. Many thanks for tuning in, and in this video I'm going to review a very rare and beautiful pen called Pelikan Graphos. I'd really appreciate if you like this video and subscribe to my channel and share your comments with me and other subscribers to this channel. And if my content was useful, please share it with your friends and others. Graphos was first introduced by Pelikan in Germany in 1934, and since then till 1978 was produced by Pelikan itself. After that, Graphos pens were made by Rotring, at that time affiliated with Pelikan. On the right up corner of the screen you can see simplest packages of Pelikan with 12 extra nibs. There are of course bigger packages available with up to 60 extra nibs. And after the production line was moved to Rotring in 1978, the production continued with the same logo, Graphos, as you see here, but the packages and the pen itself changed slightly. The original Graphos made by Pelikan was a rather simple but high quality pen made of resin. The size is fairly small, and when kept in hand, it really seems short. And in order to convert it into a full-size pen, you need to post the cap, which screws at the back just like this, and by doing that, you're gonna have a full-size pen, which seems quite normal. And as said before, it comes with up to 16 different nibs, which have quite different shapes, sizes, and characters. A variety that can rarely be seen in any other pen type, that gives you access virtually to any sort of line and width. The Rotring Graphos, on the other hand, is made of plastic, but has full size. The nib is virtually the same, with the same mechanism. As I said before, the body is made of plastic, but the nibs are interchangeable. This small notch here, which in Pelikan was made of metal, is changed to plastic, but the feeding mechanism inside is still the same. The other major difference is an ink reservoir, which in Pelikan Graphos was made inside the body, and it can be said that it was sort of eyedropper. But in Rotring Graphos it has changed into a rather small piece of plastic, made in a solid piece with the nib assembly itself. But as said before, the feeding and filling mechanism is still the same. As I just mentioned before, from 1934 to 1978, for about 44 years, this pen was produced in Pelikan itself. The Pelikan Graphos body is made of high quality resin, similar to what can be found in its fountain pens. And if you notice here on the top of feeding system, there's a number that can rarely be seen, and in this case it's number 2. I'll later explain about the number and the meaning of it. But to remove the feed, if you notice, there's a metal little notch here. You take it and pull it out just like it, and the feed is removed. And if you notice, the feed is similar to what can be found on a regular fountain pen that leads the ink to the nib. And as said before, the whole body acts as an ink reservoir. And just like an eyedropper fountain pen, the ink is held inside the body. But as the body is rather small, the ink capacity is not quite large. And to fill it with ink, you can both use the ink reservoir provided in the packaging itself, or you can simply use a syringe instead. Later in this video, I will explain completely how to ink it and what kind of ink to use. And as for the Rotring Graphos, just like I said before, it has an interior ink reservoir, which is fairly small, and to fill it up, the feed needs to be removed just like Pelikan Graphos. Just simply take it and pull it out. And as you see, the mechanism is completely similar to Pelikan Graphos. It has a little plastic notch that locks into the nib assembly. And if you notice on the top the same number 2 is written, which will be explained during this video later. And the cap, just like Pelikan Graphos, screws back into place. And this pen with the same shape was produced from 1978 on till the mid-80s when the production line was closed. And as you might have already known, the Rotring itself was acquired by Sanford in 1998. Me personally prefer the Pelikan Graphos over the Rotring Graphos, as the body is made of high quality resin and when held in hand really feels better. Compared to Rotring Graphos that really has this cheap plastic feel. Well, obviously this is my personal idea. But why this pen seems that important to me that I have decided to make this video about it. Because I really believe that this pen is a cross between all other pens that you can see here. Dip pens with all these various nibs, fountain pens, and technical pens. And later in this video, I'll explain to you that why I like this pen so much. And I really believe that this is better than all of them together and is able to have all the upsides of them. As I just mentioned before, there is a variety of different nibs available for Graphos pen, up to 60 to be precise. And during near half a century production time, different packages and sets were produced. So the first reason I love it is this variety of nibs that rarely can be seen in any other pen. Maybe only the dip pens have such a variety of nibs available. For example, something like this speedball package with calligraphy and drawing nibs available inside, or this quill that produces really thin lines. But even dip pens really can't keep up with the variety of nibs available inside one package of a Graphos pen. One can easily carry them around inside their original package, or simply choose the ones you need and put them inside these tiny plastic boxes designed by Pelikan or Rotring solely to carry these nibs around. And as you can see here, plenty of them can be fit inside and carried around easily inside your pocket. And the pen itself is fairly small and can easily fit inside your pocket. One might claim that using the dip pen itself is quite easy, and why bothering using these rather complicated pens instead? Well, the answer is lying down here. If you're going to carry your dip pens around, then you're going to need to carry their inks as well. And even carrying them inside these tiny ink wells is quite bothersome. These things can easily bear upon you, or inside your pocket, or inside your bag, or on your artwork. And these things are completely fragile, and using them is not easy at all. You're gonna need to find somewhere to put it on, or else you're gonna hold it all the time beside your sketchbook or your artwork. And one may claim that why not using these kind of fountain pens like this Pilot Parallel or Rotring Art Pen. Using them is quite easy, and some of them even has this kind of inner ink reservoir. Variety of nibs and ink color is available, and they are rechargeable and reusable rather than disposable, and they are completely permanent and will last you a long time if used properly. Well, the answer is yes, you can use them, but in that case you're going to use the fountain pen ink, which is not waterproof at all. Well, actually there are waterproof inks like this platinum carbon ink available, but for calligraphy you're going to need pigmented inks, things like this Windsor or this other one, which is an Iranian high quality ink named Etedal. But most of fountain pen inks are not pigmented, and so they are not waterproof. And those ones which are pigmented or waterproof can easily clog your fountain pen. And if you, just like me, prefer using acrylic inks with shiny vibrant colors, just like this one from Etidal, like this other one again from Etidal. Then you're not left with any other option rather than using dip pens or switching to Graphos pen, just like me. And it's worth mentioning that there is another pen with pigmented waterproof inks available, and that is nothing but technical pens. Recently I uploaded another video into my channel in which I completely explained about technical pens and their ups and downs. And as you can see here, I've got a complete set of each brand here, and even filled them with colorful acrylic inks, just like you see here. And as you might already know, technical pens come with different nib sizes. And as a result, the line they produce is completely constant. Obviously, it's not their downside, but their sole characteristic. And as a result, they do not respond to your hand pressure. And if you're amongst those who prefer using various line widths, and as the result prefer dip pens over technical pens, then you know what I'm talking about, and you're familiar with all the hardship of using dip pens. In that case, the Graphos is the pen that you will really enjoy using. For instance, you can use this R-nib to produce round end lines regardless of the pressure of your hand, similar what you gain in technical pens. Or you can use this S-nib to produce tapered lines, like what you can normally achieve while using a quill in dip pens. And just let me put it back into its place and take a look at this O-nib. It's 0.2 millimeter and produces lines similar to this kind of dip pens. And this one is also an O-nib size 5 millimeter. And take a look at this one, it's a 10 millimeter T-nib. The lines, depending on different nib, can be quite fine or completely broad. In this way, you achieve to an unparalleled line variation. You can switch to Western style or Eastern style calligraphy nibs, like what I have done here. And you can use the nibs in your drawings, like these lines produced by the S-nib size K, as I have written here. And also you can fill different pens with different inks and different colors, like these Etidal inks or these Pelikan inks or this Estetler. Virtually any kind of ink that is compatible with technical pens can be used. And of course you can divide the nibs you usually use and put them inside those tiny boxes I showed you earlier. And then you're going to end up with a pack of art supply that can be virtually carried everywhere. And you can even easily fit it inside your pocket without any real problem. And if you check my channel, I recently uploaded some videos using this kind of pen with various kind of nibs and different sizes. I tried different inks and different kind of papers. I really suggest checking them because they are real-time videos showing you the complete process. Now it's time to discuss different nibs available for Graphos. And as you can see here, there's a letter engraved on each nib. O-N-Z-A-T-R-M-S. These are the letters engraved on the nibs. The number of these nibs inside different sets is different. But if you have a complete set with 60 nibs inside, the O nib with 12 nibs available is the most numerous one, and the S type with only 4 is the least. And from these nibs, the R type and the M type are used for engineering uses, things like drafting and lettering. But the difference between these two is that the M type is compatible with the DIN standard, which is the National Engineering Standard of the Germany. And as a rule, each time you see that M written between two parallel lines, the same can be set. And for the sake of your knowledge, these tubular nibs are used for drawing and lettering in accordance with DIN number 15, 16, and 17. And actually in this chart, you can see other useful information about different kinds of nibs and actually different kind of feeds, which I will discuss later in this video. And actually, if you are going to use Graphos to create art pieces, you're going to use other nib types such as O to create round end lines like those which are used in calligraphy, or N nibs, which are right hand slant nibs to create square end lines. And as you see, the nib is slightly angled to right. And this kind of nibs are actually used in Western style calligraphy. And the Z nibs, which are left-hand slant nibs and are suitable for left-hander uses, or can be used in Arabic or Persian calligraphy. And the A nibs, which are actually the iconic nibs of the Graphos pen. And virtually everywhere you see the Graphos pen pictures, you're gonna see them with this kind of nibs. And for instance, if you take a look at this crow, you see that I create broad lines using the side of the A nib and fine lines using the tip of the A nib. As I said before, this is the iconic nib of the Graphos pen and is only available with Graphos. Now, I personally really like this kind of nibs because of the strange characteristic of the lines they produce. And as for the T nibs, they are ruling nibs used to produce broad lines and for writing posters, and obviously are used for calligraphy the most. And let's talk about the inks suitable to use inside Graphos. Can you use fountain pen inks? Yes, obviously you can, but this way your pen has a tendency to bear upon you. And by the way, most of fountain pen inks are not waterproof. So let's put them aside and go for these India inks or waterproof acrylic inks. And for example, these Etadal India inks are not 100% waterproof. They have a deep black color and a good flow of ink, but as I said, not 100% waterproof. Or these acrylic inks, which are 100% waterproof, means that you can apply watercolor on them. And always bear in mind that the India inks you're going to use should be fine enough to pass through the feed of the pen. And generally speaking, the technical pen inks are completely compatible with Graphos, but actually they are really expensive. So I prefer using these Etadal inks, which are cheaper and in some cases even better choices. They have variety of colors and I also use them inside my technical pens and never experienced any major issue. And if you check my channel, there are other videos about ink and technical pens and how to use different inks inside technical pens. But as a general rule, just keep in mind that you can only use inks with fine pigments. And for example, this Kertacolor calligraphy ink or Winsor & Newton calligraphy ink are not suitable, and they will definitely clog your pen. Although easily you can wash your pen, but that's definitely a waste of time and money. So, as a conclusion of this part, you can use black or color inks inside your graphos as far as it is fine enough to pass through the feed. And generally speaking, inks of technical pens are suitable, but they are obviously quite expensive. Note the word drawing ink or tinta china, which is the synonymous word for drawing ink in German, written on the bottles. Let it be black or color ink, just as you see, for example, here or here. And if you're looking for a cheaper choice, you can consider these ethanol inks, if available in your country. And that's all about the ink. But if you look inside any Graphos box, you're going to find an ink bottle, something just like this. Obviously, they have all dried out, because the newest one is at least 40-year-old. But don't throw the bottle away, because it's quite useful. First of all, you can open it or close it one-handed, because it's not a screw cap. And that little rod is the only thing that seals the ink channel. So, from this point of view, it's completely unique, and I've never seen an ink bottle like this. Yes, you can use technical pen ink bottles instead, but the cap is screw driven and can't be opened one-handed. And the second important feature is the tubular shape that helps fitting inside any pen case or even your pocket and can easily be carried around. But how can it be used if it has dried out? If you take a look at the bottom end of the bottle, you're going to see a rubber plug, something like this, which can easily be removed by inserting a tiny screwdriver, just like you're watching I'm doing right now. And when the plug is removed, you can easily clean the dried ink inside and put it back into place. And don't worry if you couldn't manage to remove it safely, because you can always find something to act as that rubber plug. For instance, here I've used a radiator hose rubber plug, and as far as it seals the end, there's no reason to worry about. So, after thoroughly cleaning inside and putting the rubber plug back into place, now we can use a blunt nib syringe to fill ink inside the bottle. And they usually go easily through the ink channel, just like that. And always bear in mind that you need to use a blunt nib syringe and never use a sharp nib syringe, because that can easily damage your hand or your pen interior. And if you have a kid, it can be quite dangerous. And to fill ink inside your pen, you first need to remove this feet part. And you can easily use the bottle you already inked and put it inside that front hole or the side hole and fill the reservoir with ink. But don't fill it up to the neck, because when the feed is going to replace it will push the ink back and the ink will splash everywhere, thing that definitely you don't want to happen. And the feed easily clicks back into its proper place. And try having a piece of cloth like this available just in case. Now that we have inked up our pen, we are going to choose our proper nib. And as for there is no difference between different nibs, I just choose one randomly. And if you take a look at the nib, there's a central part that is pivoted to the main body. Just take it and turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise. And if you notice carefully, there are two grooves on the nib assembly. And obviously two notches on the nib. One up there and another one down here. Just take the nib and align those notches with the grooves carefully. And just bear in mind that never use force. And if you're using force, you're obviously doing something wrong. And after the nib is fitted properly into the nib assembly, just take the central part and turn it back into place, and it will click into its proper place. Just turn it around and look it from different directions and make sure they are completely aligned. And as I already mentioned, because this is a fairly small pen, you need to post the cap, and the cap just screws back into its place just like this. And you need to make the ink running, and to do that just hold the pen into your hand just like I'm doing here, and tap your finger on the toilet paper you have already laid down, and do that carefully not to damage your nib. And after some gentle taps, the ink must flow just like you see. And now, depending on the nib you've chosen, you're able to do drawing, drafting, calligraphy, lettering, or anything else. And the fun fact about different nibs is that each one has its own characteristics. And for instance, with one that I've chosen here, you're able to do reverse writing, just like what you do with some fountain pens, and create different tones of lines. For example, finer lines or broader lines, all with one single nib. And as you see, I'm creating quite different line tones with simply changing the pressure of my hand or turning the pen. And believe me, you can play with it for hours and still find quite different characteristics and features of it. And always be ready to end up with inky hands, because each time you remove a nib, you need to clean it thoroughly and properly. And based on my own experience, the best way to clean it is to put it on a paper toilet, turn open the pivot part, and use sanitation alcohol to remove excess ink. And please note that as the body is made of resin, alcohol can be harmful for it. So put the pen itself aside and spray alcohol directly and only on the nib itself. And after that, just rub it gently. Don't use force, as I said before, and try to remove all the ink stains thoroughly. And never use water or wet paper toilet, because these things can easily rust away. And although it says stainless steel on the box, I have quite opposite experience. And after completely cleaning it, just put it back into its box and never leave them on your desk or inside your other toolboxes, because these things are really fragile and can easily be damaged or lost. Now let's try another nib, for instance this T nib. Okay, first we need to make the ink running just like I said before. And to make the ink running, you can sometimes try reverse writing, just like I'm doing here. And when the ink starts running, the Graphos can be used like a normal calligraphy pen. And now let's try coloring. And in order to do that, I'm going to use this Z nib, which as I said before can be used for left-hander uses or Persian calligraphy. Just fix it in place like I said before, make the ink running, and here you go. Now you can write just like any other normal pen and enjoy the really satisfying flow of ink. And just notice how fluent the flow of ink is and how saturated the ink is. And be sure, if used properly and kept clean, your Graphos pen is going to work for you a lifetime, and you're never going to experience any major issue. And as for the numbers engraved on the feet top, and if you notice here, there are 3 different sizes of feet available. And the number indicates the amount of ink left on the paper. So let's turn the nib around and take a look sideways. Not this way, the other way. Yes, here. And yes. And if you notice properly, there is a slightly difference between the size of these middle parts. This one on the right has the longest part, and that's the driest feet. And one on the left has the shortest one, which is as a result the most wet feet. And the one in the middle has the medium flow. And as you can read on this pamphlet, the ink feed was made in 3 different kinds. Number 1, flowing sparingly. Number 2, medium flow. And number 3, freely flowing. And number 2 is the most used feed and provides the best flow for most of the nib sizes. And the other 2 feed sizes won't be needed in most cases. And considering the limited amount of the ink inside the reservoir, using number 3 will cause running out of ink quite soon. And number 1 in most cases doesn't lubricate your nib properly. And yes, that's all I knew about Graphos. And if you know something that wasn't mentioned here, please leave a comment and notify me. And as for the future videos, I have plans to make a video about the evolution of drafting tools, from the rolling pen to stencil pen and to the Graphos, which was the subject of current video, the Rotring Technical Pen 1000 series, which is, in my opinion, one of the best in its kind. And here the Micronorm, the iconic well-known isograph, and the rare Rapidograph, and different nibs available for them. And also there will be a video about different permanent technical pens and a complete comparison between them. And also a similar video about disposable technical pens, or as some people say, fine liners, and the quality and performance of them. There's also going to be a video about different compass sets, like these vintage ones. And also a really interesting video about different vintage lettering sets. And as you can see, there are different templates or nib sizes, which were once used for drafting or creating posters. And I have a range of these sets from different brands, consisting of newer versions or the other woodbox vintage sets, like this one, which is really cool and interesting. I'm going to compare the template and the shape of letters and the side tools which were normally used beside them, like these pantographs, packed in really cool wooden boxes like this. And also, there will be another video about lead holders, like this one from Bohemia, made in Czechoslovakia, or this vintage brass Faber-Castell, from different brands like Kohinoor or Eberhard Faber, or even Rotring, or other different well-known or unknown brands, all from my personal collection, or different kind of leads that can be used inside them for variety of uses, from 2mm lead holders to 5mm lead holders, or even special rare tools like this hatching ruler from Linux. Videos like these and many others are planned to be done in near future. And that's why I really appreciate your comments, because this is the only way I can take feedbacks from you. and improve the channel and produce better videos. So stay tuned, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And keep me notified about your comments. Take care and have a good day. Thank you.